On the program today, we examine federal government move to equip students with at least 2 practical skills through the implementation of a new basic curriculum by 2025.
We would also explore the diverse cultures and languages of Nigeria.
And later on entertainment, Nollywood actress Bimbo Akintola opens up on why she never got married.
This is live from Abuja.
A show that takes you through the events that shaped the week in Nigeria and across the world, from politics, news, entertainment, and sport. Hello and welcome. I am Hadimola Lawrence.
And I am Jane Francis Mweze. What would begin with the federal government's move to revamp Nigeria's basic education curriculum by adding 15 new trades to improve students' practical skills and employability, set to take effect in January 2025. Now, this curriculum update was approved by the National Council on Education and is set to reflect government's commitment to equipping students with relevant skills for the future.
This development seeks to address gaps in practical education and prepare students for various career paths. To ensure a smooth transition, the government has outlined a 3-month period to finalize preparations, allowing both public and private schools across the country to make necessary adjustment.
This includes updating teaching materials, training teachers, and equipping schools with resources for the new trade.
The introduction of these trades is expected to foster a more skill-oriented education system, thereby empowering students with practical knowledge and enhancing chances of future employment.
The initiative forms part of the government's broader efforts to reform the educational sector and better align it with the demands of modern workforce.
Once this body approves it today, we will need few weeks to tidy up a few things, and then they will be signed off for implementation from this school session. That was our commitment to the president, and we are ready for it. There's no reason why we should change the date for its implementation. Yes, it will not be perfect. You know, at the inception, there are problems, even sensitization, because there are a lot of meetings that are going to come up to sort out all these problems about what it is, you know, support that institutions will need, monitoring, evaluation that will be needed to ensure that its effectiveness, to monitor its effectiveness, and even assessment. So this is another major ingredient of it, because if it's not reflected in the assessments, then schools can dodge it. But it will be reflected in assessments, so that anybody doing NECO, WAEC, or any assessment will be faced with knowledge gained from this new curriculum.
Joining us live is Dr. Olubukola Dosumo. She is the director of Toddlers Haven and Everest Heights International Academy in Gwagwalada and the Council Secretary, Sector Skills Council for Education in Nigeria. Good morning, ma.
Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Demola. Great to be with you guys.
Great to meet you.
Thank
too.
you very much.
Interesting.
All right. So, well, of course, we always talk about employable skills, employability skills for Nigerian graduates. But first off, what is your take on this announcement by the federal government?
Actually, it's a welcome development. It's something we're all excited about. It's the principle behind the 934 education system. Because first, an education curriculum is supposed to help children to become confident individuals, effective contributors to the societies, and thereby. So this curriculum that has just been introduced, if it is well designed, supported, and policy-driven and implemented, it will certainly give equal opportunities to all children to exhibit their outcomes later in life. Why am I taking it through this way? The children, after they've completed the 9-year basic education, they are supposed to experience different pathways based on their competencies. So this is the 9 years that they are now going to be, which will serve as the foundation, will now be an opportunity for them to have a common career-based experience from primary school, and then when they get to the GS3, which is the end of the 9 years, whichever pathway they choose to take, whether going to the government technical schools, or they want to also still further their SS3 for them to go on to university, they are already having these inherent skills in them that can foster their employability skills in future. So it is a welcome development. It's going to strengthen the basis of the 934 education system.
I think that one of the key points that you have made so far is that of how do I put it? When you said that the implementation is the key. Now, if you look at Nigeria still struggle with low employment rates. Do you think that this new curriculum set a tone for employability for our youth? But let me just peg it at this. You know, there are different technical schools in Nigeria, vocational schools even. You even have privates. I'm not talking about public now. You even have private, private citizens who have set them up. With this kind of with this now curriculum, do you think that this can help set that tone for employability of youth? Because we always talk about skills.
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, the success of this new curriculum lies on a lot of things. Number one, there's a need to align the final expected outcomes with the industry needs of our country, both locally and internationally, because now we know skills is now a foreign currency, is exportable. And it also needs to align with the national skills policy of Nigeria. That is, if it exists. We know we have a National Council for Skills, and we have been advocating in the sector skill councils for us to have a national skill that would drive the common goal. The second thing is we need to importantly align this new curriculum with the trade subjects that this was the way the trade subjects came, that it was going to solve the problem. But we know what the trade subject has become. It has become a certificate burden, a qualification burden. So we need to find a way that we need to align it. And also we need to deal with the burden on the overloaded curriculums. Our curriculum content is loaded in the Nigerian school. NERDC has a role to play in all this work that they're going to do. We need to manage, because this is going to have an impact on the management time in school. We also have to deal with the challenge of teachers. Is it the teachers in the classrooms that will teach these skills? We know that vocational skills is tied with artisans, and we know the impression that we have about artisans. But then we know that the vocational skills industry sector is changing. We're having more and more people coming into it. So we need to align all these effectively for us, because we will be overburdening the teachers. It is also very expensive. If you do a research to the technical vocation schools that we have, right here in FCT, you can visit Urozo, you can visit Kwali, or the private institutions that are being run. It is not cheap. Technical vocational educational training is not cheap. So there needs to be commitment to funding. I heard the minister talking about the fact that assessment, something, NECO, something, WAEC. No, technical vocational skill is competency-based skills. It's about what you can do. You gain the knowledge, you gain the skills, and then it translates to your attitude. Exactly. So it's not something that we're marking, it's something that you're demonstrating. So it's going to take a lot of our instructional time. It's also of our instructional time. It's going to require a lot of resources. It will also require us funding it. But you know what our biggest problem is? The mindset problem. How many parents want their children to leave the schools and then want to go into vocational skills? So there's a need for us to rebrand it. We should look at the model of what the developed countries is, especially Asia, Singapore in particular, and China. They did a lot in rebranding their vocational skills. They aligned it to their national development goals. The National Skills Qualification Framework is there that MBT is doing. MBT has created several sector skill councils for almost all those subjects that is being introduced. There is a sector skill council that is dealing with them at the employability level, at that level. So we should align, not for us to take our children to a program and then when they get out, they can't connect into the system. So these are all the working practicals that we need to do. And then also NERDC, they've done a good job in the stakeholder engagement. But the 3 months for the implementation, I don't think it will be enough, because we have a lot of work to do. We need complete stakeholder engagement, locally and internationally. Political will, it is funding. That is the issue here. Funding for manpower, funding for the resources that we need to train children to do plumbing, Buying an equipment for plumbing or an equipment for tiling can't be compared to buying a textbook. Exactly. So these are all the various issues that align with the practicability. So we can't do it. Others have done it. If we're sincere and committed to the future, Nigeria, we are being told that, is it 2050 or something, we're going to have the largest population of youths in. Yeah, so as we are working on AI, and I'm so excited that the digital skills was also part of the trade that they're saying, the AI, the robotics. We need to drive this so that by the time that time comes, we will dominate the world. We will not go across into countries in ships and boats. They will be recruiting us from all over, but we need to do a lot of work in ensuring effective implementation.
All right, so you've made a vital point about mindset, you know, how we look at vocational skill workers, and I'm wondering also how all this will plug in practically when we start this program, considering the fact that a little experiment also with the degree, OND, HND issue. Exactly. And now, so how are we going to convince people that somewhere down the line it's not going to be the same thing if they opt, you know, I think I'm more skilled based than education-wise, academic-wise, so I'd rather toe this line. Are we going to have that disparity where people are looked upon like, well, you're a vocational skill worker and these ones are, yeah. So do you think we will be able to conquer that? We can conquer that
if we focus this new curriculum to develop our technical vocational education training program in Nigeria. If we structure this program as, how will I put it, a complementary program for the current degrees and all that we do in our schools, we are going to have that problem. And that's why I said there has to be a strong stakeholder engagement, strong multi-sectorial workings among all of them. The National Labour for Productivity, the National, the Federal Ministry of Education, we have to come together and align these things. We're looking at a program that is in the next 5, maybe 10 years that we are going to begin to see the effects. If we don't take care of these things, it's still going to be the same thing. We know what our problems are. Where are these problems? Let's be sincere to deal with this problem. So that is just our take on this.
So when you say, when you say problems, which of the problems are we looking at? The things we want to solve, like maybe having vocational skills for everything about palm kernel and palm kernel products, crude oil and crude oil back, or you're talking about the problem of our mindset when it comes to this?
The problem of our mindset is the greatest problem that we have. We know what it is. You see somebody, someone trained, maybe studied as a lawyer, graduated. I'm a medical doctor, but I now found myself in the education space. I'm grateful for that. But I've seen my colleagues that have actually diverted into tailoring, into fashion designing. They struggled at the beginning. Nobody wants to give them a chance. But now the face is changing. And what the private sector, the private entrepreneurial sector is doing is what we're saying, that government should come in and help us, give us the support, policy development, regulate policies and rebrand it and give it a new face. Bank of Industry and all these other organizations that can provide the adequate funding should be available for us. The mindset thing is our biggest problem. But you see, you have somebody in Nigeria who is doing a white-collar job, but can leave the white-collar job and sell and invest so much to migrate to the UK or Canada to do skilled care work. It is all these we're saying. Why? Because the earning power in those countries are higher. That is why they could leave their well-paid so-called white-collar structured jobs to go and take those jobs. So these are the things that is going to help people to accept vocational skills, the remuneration, the wages, the mindset, the way we see them, our attitudes, our response, how we embrace them in the society, the place we give them when it comes to conversations. All these are all what we align and see to helping us on the mindset issues.
You know, when you talked about you are a medical doctor, and now you find yourself in the educational space. You have some of your friends who are also medical, but now they are into sewing, tailoring. You know, while growing up, when they ask us, well, what do you want to be?
Everybody wanted to be a doctor.
A doctor or a lawyer.
Aspiring to be a pilot was a huge thing.
Jonathan. And so it became something that almost everybody wanted to do. how do you think that we need to start tackling these kind of issues? For example, from while we were young, if those kind of things can be imputed into our brain, telling us that we can. I'll give you an example. I watched a movie, I think Mechanic, or by Kunle Afolayan.
Okay.
And where he had to take the son was in after school, he had to take the son to a mechanic workshop to go and learn mechanic, you know. And it was a very fantastic moment. And I thought that, well, that was great. How many parents can actually do that in this time and age? Just imagine, say you go and learn vulcanizer.
and in addition to what he's asking, does our 934 have a place, have a role to play in this, in solving this?
Yes, our 934 has a role to play in this. Number one, the 9 years is what we're trying to do now by giving our children career-based experiences before they leave. Then we know they get into the senior secondary, the trade subjects has to be revisited. There has to be an alignment at the end of the 9 years. The trade subject between SS1, 2, and 3 has to come in alignment. Then you see the aspect of the mindset thing that we're talking about. We need to showcase a lot of success stories. We need to showcase a lot of success stories that we have in and around us. You know, let people come out, let them tell their experiences. Our technical vocational educational schools have to be governments. We have to do a lot of work in rebranding it, in ensuring that things are done properly. The impression that we have. Let's share more success stories. For example, our schools. One of the things I'll advise and advocate for a lot of schools is our career days now in schools should no longer just feature lawyers, doctors. Let's start looking for successful people that handle plumbing, that do tiling. And, you know, you see, when they go through the 9 years, it also gives them opportunity to improve their literacy skills, their numeracy skills, their communication skills, so that we just don't end up having illiterates doing this. So they will still learn. And if they go into the technical vocation schools, they will still do their basic literacy, numeracy, all those other things to ensure that they are well prepared for the workspace, the interpersonal skills they need. But then we need to focus on these skills aspects.
No, hold on. You know, I just remembered that there was one time I was reading Nigeria has a lot of policies. You know, we have good policies that can actually solve our problem. The problem is the implementation of those policies, because we like to talk. There's a lot of talking. I was at an event yesterday, and it was AFDB President Akima Adesina, where he was rolling out all of the beautiful things that Nigeria needs to do and how we can be able to cut all those corners and all those bottlenecks. But the problem is the implementation of all these policies. How do you think that we can enforce this implementation to check who is supposed to be checked, monitor who is supposed to be monitored, to carry out this implementation?
You see, thank you for that question. For example, I am the Council Secretary for the Sector Skill Council on Education, and one of the greatest problems we are facing right now is the activities of our council as it relates to the Federal Ministry of Education has not been regulated. So one of the things that can hinder,
those are bottlenecks.
Yes, those are the bottlenecks that you meet. People, you can't, if you say, okay, they know that this is what they're supposed to do. We know that to have teachers in our 0 to 5 years classes, they're supposed to take this certification. But who is going to catch me if I don't take it? So it's about, that's why I was talking about that every sector that is related needs to come in. Yes, we are talking about a primary school curriculum, but we need the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. We need them to come in because of this HND and all that issue. And, you know, besides that, we can just align. We just don't need only the Federal Ministry of Education. We need Youth and Social Development. Federal Ministry of Education is doing this curriculum now. And there's a lot about to do with AI, robotics. We need NITDA. We need the
Ministry of Communications.
Yes, Ministry of Communications. We need these are our new ministry, Bosu Tijani. We need Bosu Tijani's ministry. So you see, so we work in silos. We plan our implementation policies in silos. And then we push it out there for people to work. And then at every point where they need to progress, we meet a bottleneck. Also, the committee for this, the committee of the sector skill councils in Nigeria. We are aware that there's a National Skills Council headed by the Office of the Vice President of Nigeria. As I'm standing today, it's time to be corrected, but the bit I know, we have been requesting through the NBT, the National Board for Technical Education, for years, that they should let us have a national skills policy. When that policy is there, everybody will align with the education alliance, labor productivity alliance, digital economy, so that is where our problem is. And that is why you see that it is only, I'm sorry to say, often always the private sectors that successfully champion these programs. They are always the only one because they have the resources, they have the networking, they probably are able to access grants, they have the commitment and the passion to go through all it takes to make it run. You need to go around FCT and you'll be shocked at the technical vocation training institute that individuals are running in culinary. You will be impressed. You will wish you should go down and take a course in welding, welding. NAPTIN is doing so much because they are the ones that are supervising the Sector Skill Council on electrical and energy. So this regulation is very key. Multi-sectorial collaboration is critical. Commitment and political will is key. And like I said, we must run it separately with the intention to develop our technical vocation industry and not just any other thing. Otherwise, it will end up as a paper qualification.
All right. So we've had a lot of things, that were pushed by foreign-funded agencies. For example, I don't know if you're conversant with Part 2 for malaria, Part 1 and 2 for malaria. I think it was V4C, Voices for Change, that came in to push for gender equality and all the other things that were in between. So most of the things, and we saw the success rate that they were, but then, like you also mentioned, these private sectors are able to get grants to make push for this, to make advocacies, consistent advocacies for this. And right now, it looks like if we just talk about this policy and you talk about it on this show, maybe by January 2025, we probably just see a few things in curriculum and it ends there. So without all these, this kind of agencies coming out to push for consistent advocacy, are you confident we can make any headway? Because you pointed out why it's important that we get committed, but without that push, some group always on the government's neck, on the news, constantly doing programs for journalists. Do you have confidence that we can make headway?
I have confidence in Nigeria. That's why I have no jackpot. I have confidence in the fact that if we're committed little by little, we will get there. We also need you, the media. We need you to come in and bring out success stories. We need you to come in and make advocacies for those that need support. We need you to go to the rural areas, because when we're even talking about employability, we're talking about those majority of those affected are those that are in the rural areas. We're concerned about our public schools. So you see, it's about harmonizing it. One of you, can take up a spirited venture that this vocational stuff that is coming up, I am going to dedicate a line, or maybe something online or in the news, and you're going to continually advocate success stories, push government wherever it is required. But as long as the private sector is in this country and we're allowed to thrive, as long as there are people that are passionate, whether in the private sector or in the public sector, and as long as we have the right, how will I put it, officers in the right places, we don't have round pegs in square holes. If you have the right people there, we're going to get, it's going to be tough. There's nothing that is easy in Nigeria. Any RDC has started, they're highly commended. I've had conversations with those that worked on this program, and they said the implementation phase is they're going to give it all it takes. So it's good we're having conversations like this so that they can know that it's not bread and butter. But 3 months,
it's not enough.
It's not enough for the implementation. Right. 3 months is not enough.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Olubukola, this has been quite insightful and inspiring. I'm
sure
Demola will take up this challenge to go on social media instead of tweeting things that are not productive.
Yes.
I tweet things that are productive. All right, thank you very much. We'll go on a break. When we come back, it's time for the headlines. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Advocate and a published author.
I am the founder of Celebration, a businesswoman, and a fashion icon.
I am a wealth coach and a real estate developer.
I am Amako Arakwe. I'm a corporate commercial lawyer and an entrepreneur.
Welcome to Warhaka. I am Ramatu Shehu Oyibo, an entrepreneur and a business coach.
I am the voice of an average Muslim woman, an hijabite, and a lawyer.